PyGame. It's been a while since I've done a PyGame tutorial. And we're going to create a simple little application here, a little game that's basically like an etch-a-sketch. You can draw lines with your arrows and then hit spacebar to clear out the screen. So let's go ahead and get started. I'm going to use Vim as my text editor, but use whatever text editor you prefer for writing scripts. And we'll just call this etch.py. And of course, we're going to start off with our shebang line like we always do, just to let the operating system know what interpreter to use. And we're going to use the environment of Python, the Python environment. So there we go. And then we're going to import two modules, PyGame and sys. And then from PyGame .locals, we are going to import all. Now, a lot of people say not to do that. It's going to import more than what we actually need, but that's how I know how to do it. So we're doing it that way. If you know better, then do better. And then next we'll say PyGame .init to initiate PyGame, and then we'll create our screen object, our display. And we're going to say we're going to use the PyGame module. And from within the PyGame module, we're going to create a display, and we're going to set the mode, and we're going to give it a height and width, or a width and height. I'll say 600 by 400 in this case. Now, in a lot of cases, you may want to actually use variables for this. You've seen me do that in the past, in case you want to change the screen height and width later on. It's a little bit easier maybe if you make an H and W and then use those in there. But just for this tutorial, we're going to do that. And then we're going to set values of X and Y. X will be left and right, Y will be up and down for our little drawing cursor. So we're going to say, or I guess our etcher. Really, we should probably get the screen width and divide it in half. Once again, using variables in case you change things later on. But just to keep the tutorial simple, I'm going to say X is 300, which is half of 600, and Y is 400. The width is 400, so we're going to set Y to 200. That should start our cursor right off in the middle of the screen. Next, we're going to create a clock object. We're going to say clock, and we're going to use the PyGame module again. And from within PyGame, we're going to use the time function, and we're going to create a clock object here. We're going to use that in a second. We're creating it here, and we'll use it once we start our main loop. And then we're going to say here, let's take our screen and fill it. By default, it's black. We're going to want it to be white because we're going to be drawing with black, but you can go the other way around. Or you can even make kind of a gray if you wanted, like actual etch-a-sketch is kind of a, well, it uses aluminum, so it's kind of a silverish aluminum color. But if we just do 255, 255, 255, that is red, green, and blue. All colors equal white. And then we'll say while 1, so this is our main loop here. This while loop, 1 means true. It will loop forever until you kill it. And then we're going to set our clock object that we created. We're going to use it here. We're going to say tick, and we'll say, in this case, 60. That prevents your game from going faster than 60 frames a second. It may go slower if your computer's slower, but it won't go faster than that. So 20 years from now, when computers are a whole lot faster, you're not going to try to draw with this, and your cursor's going to go flying off the screen because your computer's way faster than we anticipated. It's limited to 60 frames a second. Next, we're going to say PyGame, and we are going to draw onto our screen a circle. And so we're going to be drawing, and where are we going to draw it? We're going to draw it onto our screen. And then in here, we're going to give it a color. Before, as we said, 255, 255, 255 is 100% red, green, and blue all together, which gives us white, because white is the presence of all color. A lot of people get that mixed up. Black is the absence of color, so if we do 0, or 0, 0, 0, we'll get black. Easy way to remember this, and like I said, a lot of people get confused. Think of outer space. Or a dark room. Light contains all color. Light is white, pure light. And if there's no light, everything's black. So if you're in a dark room, things are black because there is no color. Next, we're going to say where we're going to draw this. We need to give it coordinates, and we already set x and y up here to 300 and 200. So we'll say x and y, and then we'll say comma 2. That's the diameter of our circle. So if you want it to be bigger, make that number bigger. If you want it to be smaller, make it 1. Next, we will PyGame, and we will use our display. So from PyGame, our display, and we will update it. If we don't do that, we won't see any of our changes. Next, we want to have the circle move when we press arrow keys. And so we need to reset X and Y every time one of the arrow keys is pressed. So the first thing we need to do is we need to create a variable. We'll call it key, and key will check PyGame, and we just did a tutorial on this, for whatever keys are getting pressed. So right there, key is going to equal all the keys that are being pressed. Then we have to look through all the keys that are being pressed and say, well, if this key is being pressed, do this. If this key is being pressed, do this. And we'll say if key, and then square brackets here, PyGame dot k underscore right. And what I want to remind you here is 1, and you should know this if you've used Python before, indentations are important. If you indent differently, if we say remove one of those spaces, we will get errors that the indentation is correct. So make sure you're indenting properly. And also, like most programming languages, it's case sensitive, so we want a capital K with capital right here. So what this is saying is check to see if, use PyGame to check and see if the right key is being pressed, and we already checked all the keys being pressed with key. So now that we know whether it's being pressed or not, we're going to say colon here. So if this is pressed, then we're going to take whatever y equals, and we're going to add 1 to it. If you want to go faster, make that number bigger, but 1 is a decent speed at 60 frames a second. Now, just to save time in this tutorial, I'm going to copy and paste that 4 times. I did that by getting out of edit mode and then pressing DD to cut the line, and then P a few times to paste it in Vim. It'll be different if you're using a different text editor. And then here, and a lot of people say you shouldn't cut and paste when you're writing code, but I do. Now we're going to say left. If left is pressed, instead of adding 1 to X, we want to subtract 1. Now obviously if both right and left are being pressed at the same time, they're going to cancel each other out, and it's not going to go anywhere. Next we'll say if the up key is pressed, this time we're going to change Y, and we actually want to subtract 1 from it. And then here we'll say if the down key is being pressed, Y will be whatever Y equals plus 1. Now we're in a while loop, so everything we've typed so far will happen every single time, 60 times a second in theory. So every time it loops, it's going to draw the circle and then update the screen, then check what keys are pressed, move X or Y, and then draw the circle again, blah, blah, blah. So we could actually go and play the game right now, but let's add one more thing here. Well, a couple more lines, but we're going to add a loop here, a for loop. We're going to say event, whoops. And really, I could probably just add more if statements to our key press here, now that I'm thinking about it. No, well, yeah, we also have to add this for the X being clicked. Okay, sorry, I was just thinking there for a second. So we're going to create a variable called event, and it's going to loop, and it's going to check pygame.event.get, and then colon. So every time our while loop goes, it's going to check this, and then for every event, we're going to say event, so if event, so if the variable we just created, and its type equals, so equals, pygame dot quit, then we're going to do something. What that is doing is checking if the window that we've created in PyGame, if the X is clicked. Then we're going to use our sys module to exit our script. I've been told there's actually, and I know what it is, I just can't remember right now. There's another thing. You're supposed to actually kill PyGame before you kill the script, to be technical about it. But I never remember what that is when I'm doing tutorials. So next we're going to say if L or LF. So if the X is clicked, do that. If the event, type, if I could type today, type equals a key down. And this is the part that we probably could have put up in our other, with our other if statements up there. Not a big deal either way. Might have been a little bit shorter in code, but I'm not detouring from what I know works in the middle of a tutorial. I've done that in the past, and it never really works out good for me. We're going to add another key press is if escape is pressed, and then we will also use our sys module to end our script. And the reason we do that, it's not something we have to do, but if you decide to make this game full screen and the user doesn't have the X to press anymore, they can press escape to exit out of the game. And then we'll also say elif event dot type equals key down, and event dot key equals, in this case we'll say space. And once again, this is another one that we could have thrown up here, and it would have shortened up our code a little bit, but I didn't do that way in my notes because I am looking at notes, and even though I know it will work, I'm sticking with the notes. So it's up to you. I've mentioned it so you can decide what you want to do. And here, this is the space bar is going to be like you're shaking the etch-a-sketch, and so we're just going to clear the screen. So we're going to take the entire screen and make it white, and once again that's full color of RGB, so all red, all green, and all blue at the same time will give us white. And if we've typed everything properly and we make it executable, or just run it through Python, I prefer to make it executable, it's easier, I think. We'll do that. And we got an error because I misspelt event at one point. See, it tells you right here, if you ever get an error, go to this line in the code. And then it tells you event is not defined. So a lot of times people get errors and then they ask me what's wrong, and I ask them to send me the error, and it's exactly what the error says. So read what the error says. It's in plain English. Hopefully, I don't know if your computer's set to another language, it says it in another language. But it's saying this line, this is what the line looks like, this part is wrong. And then go and fix it. And right away we can see here that I put an M instead of an N. So let's go edit that. And you can see down here if you're using Vim, but most text editors will tell you what line you're on. We can just go down to 27. There we are. And we'll change that to an N. A lot of times errors are just little typos like that. Here we go. Move the screen up here. You can see we got the dot in the middle. And if I start using my arrow keys, left, up, right, oh, excuse me, right, down, and we can. So, and then if we hit spacebar, it clears out the screen. Now, this little script is for tutorials, and there are things, if you were actually to create a script like this, you're going to send out to people. A few things you may want to add to it. One, a help menu, maybe right on the screen, F1 for help, and then tell them that if they hit escape, they can exit. If they hit spacebar, it clears the screen. Another thing you would want to do is set a limit. So right now, you can say, if you could add to the script, if X is less than 0, set X to 0, and if X is greater than screen width, then set X to screen width, and same for Y, because right now, if I hold down and I go off the side of the screen here, we don't see it, but it keeps going. So, and I hit down for a little bit. If I hit right now, you can see, where's my cursor? Where's my cursor? It takes a while for it to get back onto the screen. So if you just set it that if it's less than 0 to equal 0, and if it's greater than screen width, set X to screen width, and just add that to your loop, and same if Y is less than 0, set it to 0. If Y is greater than screen height, then y equals screen height. I'm not going to do that in the tutorial. It's pretty straightforward. And that's it. Spacebar to clear. I thank you for watching. If you're not at my site, please visit my site, filmsbychris.com. That's Chris with a K. There should be a link in the description. I thank you for watching. Hope you found this useful, and I hope that you have a great day. Also, remember, I don't answer comments in YouTube section anymore. Check out the, hopefully I remember to put in the description of this video, a link to our IRC channel. You can go to Freenode IRC, Freenode in your IRC client. Our channel is pound Films by Chris, Chris with a K. A lot of helpful people there that can help you with stuff. If you're not familiar with IRC, just go to filmsbychris.com/IRC, all lowercase, and you'll get a web interface. Not the best, but we'll get you there, and then you can ask the guys in the room what they suggest to use as an IRC client. Also, think about helping support the site. There is a donate button somewhere right now. It should be on the right side of my homepage. So I ask that maybe you think about helping and supporting me. That's it, and I hope that you have a great day. Also, if we hit escape, it exits out of the script. Thank you for watching, and once again, have a great